All right, well, let's kick this off. I think we're one of the last presentations of the day, keeping everybody between this and some beach time or some pool party time. So, well, listen, we're really excited to be here, and I think the biggest thing I can say is that in eMERGE's second year of having dual use, if you look around and you see some of the dynamic speakers we have here, you can really say that dual use has arrived at eMERGE. There's been some amazing presentations from General Hawk from Air Force Futures Command. We've heard some high level, we've got General Brown from Army Futures Command just finishing up a presentation. I think what we're doing now is we're bringing it down to sort of the company level. When you think about it, it's the entrepreneurs, the founders that really have that grit and determination that are bringing those capabilities back to the warfighter. And so I'm going to go ahead and have my panel start to sort of self-introduce and tell a little bit about your background and a little bit about your company.
I'm Lawrence Nunn. I'm the CEO and co-founder for Cyberspatial. We've been a company since 2019, kind of started in stealth. And we focus on critical infrastructure and defense technology. Really providing that cybersecurity, that cyber situational awareness, cyber situational understanding for those networks.
So Lawrence, when we talk about dual use, right? Dual use implies that we're investing in technology that that is involved both with the commercial sector, but also has an application within the DoD, as well as the intelligence community. So you're sort of that classic entrepreneur in the dual use space that came out of the military, had a military background. Tell us a little bit about what you did, previously. What I do know is that when I went into the military in the Army, we fought in basically 3 domains. We had sea, air, and land. And since that time, they've now added cyber and space, where we have to be able to go out and fight and win. And when the Army created cyber as its initial branch, and you branch transferred, my understanding is that you were cyber officer #1 in the Army.
Yeah, that's about right. My packet was in about 5 minutes after they made the announcement, and I think I did okay on the OML. But I do like to claim that I was #1 because my packet was definitely the first in.
Great. So Sharon, you sort of bring a little different flavor to that, right? So the dual use, where when we met Arria, your company, you guys were primarily in the commercial sector and dealing with a lot of Fortune 500 companies as customers. And, we saw your generative AI capability, and with Stony Lonesome Group's mission-focused, defense-focused investment thesis, we talked about where could we apply this artificial intelligence within the DoD. And so we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you came to be sort of, the founder and CEO of Arria.
Great, thank you, Sean. I have been in technology for decades.
Sharon, Mike, a little bit.
Yep, I've been in technology for several decades now. When I met the chief scientists who came up with the original algorithms of natural language generation, turning data into language, in 2012, I knew it was the future. Here we are. Now it's all about speed to information, volumes of big data, both structured and unstructured, really important to learn from what we've done on the private side and bring it to the public side, where mission critical applications and speed to information is absolutely more important than ever.
Great, Sharon, thank you. So General Bash, it's actually General Partner General Bash. So you're a general in our book. General Bash is not only one of my partners at Stony Lonesome Group, which is a venture capital firm based in Tampa, Florida, that focuses primarily on dual-use defense technology, but he's also the acting CEO of one of our biotech portfolio companies, Hemoteck. So Brooks, if you could share maybe a little bit about your background, and then tell us a little bit, first talk a little bit about how you got involved with Stony Lonesome Group, and then we'll get into the portfolio company that you're currently leading.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. So my background, spent 34 years in the Air Force, pilot by trade, had some fascinating assignments, spent a year in Baghdad, 3 years at the White House and National Security Council, the Joint Staff, the J4. So I've had a breadth of experience. I got involved with Sean. I was kind of in between a company that I left and got introduced to one of his other companies, invested in them. Sean said, "Who's this guy investing in this company?" So he calls me up, and the rest is history. So 6 years later, we're general partners now, and it's been a great ride. But so he comes to me and says, "I really need some help in this company," and so that's Hemoteck and our O2 Boost oxygen product. So fascinating. I got captured. I got the bug. I'm like, I believe in this, so I've become the largest personal investor in that company as well as Sean's other portfolio companies.
And Brooks, you've been such a great asset to the team, and I think just a kind of real interesting facts to share about your background, but it also ties into why you're such an asset to Stony Lonesome Group, and in turn working with our portfolio companies. While you were at the National Security Council, you were there during 9/11, and you were the senior military officer in the White House Situation Room that morning. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like, and maybe something you learned from that experience that you're now carrying over into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that everybody remembers where they were that day, and I was in the White House sitting right next to Condi Rice when the first plane hit the towers. And so working through the challenges of the new administration at that time, the Bush administration only been there for 6-7 months, was quite fascinating. But if you'll bear with me, I'll tell a little story, quick story. So you see all the politicians today, they all wear the American flag on the lapel. Well, the reason that is on Twin Towers went down on Tuesday. On Thursday, Andy Carter, the chief of staff, came in the Oval Office. One of my jobs is I did all the phone calls in the Oval Office. He had a handful of American flags. And so we put these on, put one on the president and everybody else. And from that day forward, they all started wearing the American flag and lapel. To this day, everybody still wears the American flag. And that's where it started. I was in the Oval Office on day one when that happened. So it's pretty cool to kind of watch history like that.
Absolutely. And we've seen the way that, again, sort of the nature of what we're doing has evolved over time, the types of companies that we've been investing in. So Lawrence, kind of back to, to the cyber domain. But we're at peace right now, right? In terms of things we're doing. So, what are your thoughts on that? Why is this important?
Yeah, so technically we're at peace, but I think, we're still in competition. We're still in conflict. Missiles may or may not be flying, but we are still in conflict every single day. And we have to continue to poise ourselves to be ready for anything. But I think the other thing that really concerns me, and if you think, what keeps me up at night, I remember as a young tank, commander, a young tank officer, I remember my lead tank at one of the training centers stopping in the middle of basically a danger area. And I couldn't get him up on the net. And what happened is his GPS failed. So he stopped, and it stopped the entire platoon. So I fired him on the spot, and we kept moving. We promoted another person, and we kept moving. So what worries me about where we're at is all of this technology is fantastic, but the dependence that we place on it is a massive vulnerability, because as we start to lose some of these skills and our young folks are not able to do those things, it becomes something that could be unrecoverable if we lose it in a time when we absolutely need it.
Well, you and I were both map and compass guys when we came in, right? And you did allude to sort of that technology. However, on the cyber domain, if you look at sort of state of the art, when you were an armor officer and I was an infantry officer, we had our sand table, right? We had situational awareness. We could plan a mission. We could see the terrain that we had to fight on. But in cyber, when it's all ones and zeros, how do you have that situational awareness? And that's really the problem that you and Cyberspatial set out to solve for. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing right now and the need that you're meeting within the DoD.
100%. As these networks and the applications that we use get more complicated, it is even more important that you're able to understand what's happening on your network. So you need to know where everything is, what everything is, and what it's doing. And that's exactly what we do. right? We spend an exorbitant amount of time being the best best in the world at understanding that traffic going on your network, so I can paint that picture, so that then a leader so an operator can then describe to a leader what is going on. And I think that that's very basic. It's very fundamental, but it's also really, really hard to do. And I got to tell you, Sean, most of the other VCs that we talked to when we were looking to raise money didn't understand that concept. So there's a difference between smart money, because you got to ask yourself, well, who is it smart for, right? One, but then there's also good money. And I got to tell you, what you've done with Stony Lonesome Group, and I don't know, just gonna blow smoke, but I'll tell you, what you've done is you've given us an environment where we can build the right thing the right way that's actually going to add value, and in the long run, protect our community, which is the United States, protect this country, and make sure that we have the strategic advantage because we understand our environment and we can posture ourselves to defend all of these great technologies that are all over this place, all over this great hall. We can defend those technologies so that we can actually count on them when we need it the most.
We appreciate that. And I think it goes back to what our thesis has been at Stony Lonesome Group, which is mission-focused investing. The idea that we can make money for our investors, but really have an impact on national security. And the things that you're doing at Cyberspatial are representative of those types of portfolio companies. Another thesis, Brooks, that you and I have at Stony Lonesome Group is that, in this age of all this technology, massive amounts of data, that now that we're more peer-to-peer and near-peer, the conflicts that we're in, that the next wars are going to be won and lost with artificial intelligence, and that the ammunition is going to be data, which leads us to our investment in Arria and their generative AI platform. But in terms of sharing the military use cases, why can't we just use ChatGPT? I mean, that's the answer to everything in AI these days, right?
I love that question. First and foremost, 100% accuracy. So in the space that I live and breathe every day, natural language technologies, the key is understanding how to apply each of the very powerful capabilities. So ChatGPT is phenomenal, very powerful, great for research, great for summarization, great for conversation, which is our future in interacting with data. Ask your data a question, get an answer. That's going to be our experience. But when it comes to mission-critical applications, starting with data, you need to know that it's trusted data, your data, it's controlled. You have the comfort and confidence of accuracy, which you will get from a deterministic model like Arria. The beautiful thing is we've been founded in data to text, numerical data, going to language to speed the information and the available insights and actionable insights for humans, shortcutting and consolidating the time to action by analyzing volumes of data and turning that into narrative. With the latest capabilities of these large language models, ChatGPT being one of them, you can now go beyond and bring in all the available data, that is unstructured data, information, PDFs, available information. In the Arria platform, we do that in a controlled fashion where we're pointing it specifically at the information that's contextualized to data. So in summary, I'd say bringing all of these natural language technologies together is the future. It's not one or the other. Bringing them together specifically to address a use case is what my recommendation would be, that is where you're going to get the most out of the technology that you apply.
Well, one of those use cases, right, is that, we've said that, wars are won with tactics and strategy, or battles are won with tactics and strategy, but wars are won with logistics. So you have a use case in sort of the logistics space. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. One of your Fortune 100 customers that's using Arria's product in the logistics use case.
Well, I'll keep it simple. We cover multiple industries, but one that everybody probably knows, Home Depot. Home Depot have stores worldwide, inventory that is in volumes, and it took before Arria, teams of people to analyze that data, get that information to their store managers and executive teams to improve their business. Today, every Monday morning, Home Depot pushes a button, sends their data to Arria, encrypted in transit, through an API call, and in under 10 minutes, we return over 2,000 customized reports to the executives and store managers around the world. That is a true breakthrough. That is a competitive advantage. That is automation and ultimate cost savings and efficiencies. That's one use case.
Well, that's insights into the data for them to make commercial decisions the same way that a warfighter has to make those key decisions and things like targeting, logistics, et cetera. So Brooks, another area where we at Stony Lonesome Group have made a lot of investments is in sort of human performance, right? The idea that our military, our special operators, both the ways that they train and the way that they fight and need to win on game day, it needs that special edge when it comes to performance. Talk a little bit about the company that you're currently leading at Hemoteck and the things that you're doing with powdered oxygen in the human performance domain.
Yeah, so our technology that's novel is a solid form of oxygen that at the molecular level has trapped oxygen, which makes that possible. But we're formulating it into capsules and O2 boost, which allows you to more oxygenate the body than especially if your body's compromised with respect to your lung capacity or illness, or if you're running a marathon or at altitude skiing in Colorado, whatever it might be. We've proven that this actually adds additive oxygen. So from a special operator's perspective, a military perspective, carrying a rucksack with 100 pounds of gear or swimming for the SEALs or whatever it might be, having that extra advantage is really, really important. We've now got it capsulized and certified for no banned substances, so athletes are starting to use it. We have a lacrosse team using it today that's doing pretty well with it. And so from a human performance perspective, it has all sorts of, oxygen is the key to life. At the cellular level, we know it's improving mitochondrial function and ATP, which is the energy of your body. So it's a fascinating technology. And then there's a couple other possibilities too that we're exploring if you want me to go into that. But
mention real quickly sort of the golden hour. Like for us, that was the holy grail. That was really the motivation as to why we made the investment into that company in the first place.
So if you're familiar with the military, the golden hour is getting an injured troop to a hospital so you can save their life if they're injured. We also talk about, when I was in the military, the platinum 10 minutes. So if you're lacking oxygen because you've bled out or you've lost significant amounts of blood, you've got to get oxygen within about 10 minutes or you're going to start having brain deficit and all those sorts of things. Down the road, we've already proven out that you can apply this technology through an IV, and it doesn't take any cold chain logistics. There's no blood typing associated with it. There's no disease or cultural issues. The soldier can carry a saline solution or lactic ringers, add this at the point of need, and you can provide a fluid that's given the soldier, or even an auto accident out on the freeway, oxygen. Because when you bleed out, you're dying of lack of oxygen, not from lack of blood, because there's no red blood cells to carry that oxygen. So that's the holy grail down the road. Obviously, there's a lot of research. We've done the basic research to prove that the thesis that's possible. But you could save, there's a worldwide blood shortage, especially in developing countries. That people are dying every day because of lack of blood. So this is, at the end of the day, this is a humanitarian, crazy, wow, this changed the world type of thing.
It's also great for jet lag. I just returned from New Zealand, took 2 capsules. Here I am, helpful. And hangovers. Here we are in Miami.
Well, listen, it's about time that we're going to start to wrap this up, but I want to give each of our panelists a chance to kind of give us some parting thoughts on really, what it means to be an entrepreneur in the dual use space.
Yeah, thanks. I'll go first. Yeah, I think you're building for a higher purpose. It does sound a little cliche, but I truly believe that what it also means is that you have to find the right partners that are aligned with your goals. If you're on a timeline and you've got, I want to double my return in a year or 2 years, or I've got to do whatever, it may not work because it could be 3 years before you're even actually able to sell to one of these government organizations. but they might write you a really large check, right? So aligning those interests is super, super key.
Sharon?
I'd say that in this fast-paced world of technology that is changing so quickly, we know it's the competitive advantage. One thing I will say is to make sure you're really approaching technology. Trial and error is costly, and both costs, literally hard costs, and time. 6 months, a year to try things that might work. That's a tough thing. So the takeaway, I hope you all can take away from what I have to offer for what excites me is really honing in on aligning your use case, understanding what humans are doing naturally, and capturing that into software. So align the use case with technology versus exploring technology and shoehorning your use case into it. We get this feedback from our Fortune 500 companies, global partners. They come to us. We tried ChatGPT, didn't work, but yet ChatGPT is amazing. It depends on your use case. So that's the first thing I would say. It's really important. And with that comes making sure you have really strong subject matter expertise. We have a responsibility on how we apply artificial intelligence. So having strong subject matter expertise to support your use case is really key. Case in point, and I'll mention the partnership that Arria has with Pathfinder Solutions Group. When we came to bringing commercial technology to the government, we did not know how to navigate the space. So Sean and the Pathfinder team helped us. They understand the way government operates. All the DoD have different approaches and different use case requirements. So the subject matter expertise is shared with us so we can apply the right technology, which in essence is your way to save cost and time. So that would be what my takeaway. And lastly, I'll just say the future is a language experience. So this is a really fun time in technology. Ask your data a question, you're going to get an answer in natural language.
Thank you, Sharon. And Brooks, for you to wrap it up, maybe you can be a little bit more at the sort of the Stony Lonesome Group across the portfolio level, the impact that you've seen in terms of bringing that mission-focused dual-use mentality across the Stony Lonesome Group portfolio.
Well, great. And what they said is absolutely right. It's all about national security. So the question then becomes is how this whole conference is about, how the commercial sector helps accelerate what the military needs or national defense needs. Sean has assembled a team of experts. I mean, we've got a previous Air Force CIO, folks like me and others that understand the military. We spend our careers and we know what requirements are. We know what the needs are. And now we have the knowledge of the commercial sector and being able to take products that are working in the commercial sector so that the military doesn't have to waste their time and money on research and development, false starts, all those sorts of things. They can take a product, we adapt it quickly for the military use. Sean uses his team to have those connections. So subject matter experts that know people in the military and what their requirements are so you can translate. Because even though I've been retired a few years, the language has changed, the requirements have changed. And so having the people today that we have connections to is crucially important for that ecosystem to make it possible to bring capital in, because without capital, the commercial sector can't do technology as quick as they need to. So at the end of the day, it's about national security. I bleed red, white, and blue. So it's really cool to be able to now give back and help the country. But at the same time, our investors are going to make money because when it's successful, the money's going to take care of itself. But the reason I'm involved is because it's the right thing to do, and it's an amazing technology for me and a lot of these companies.
Well, thanks, Brooks, for those sort of parting comments. I think just to wrap things up here, I would like to just say that, to those entrepreneurs in the room that are sort of aspiring to that next level, that have the grit, the tenacity, and are committed to the mission, we applaud you for that, everything that you're doing to bring that capability back to the warfighters. For any of the investors out there, I think just to take the idea that, freedom isn't free and we can't take it for granted. And it's really something that we need to invest in. Investing in national security, protecting, what the Department of Defense and the military is trying to do is something that, needs the support and the resources to get behind these great founders and entrepreneurs, to give them the resources and go out there and execute their mission. So with that, thank you to the panel and thank you to eMERGE for the opportunity to come up here and share a little bit about dual use technology investing.
Thank you, Sean.